Now let's turn to Ukraine, where President Zelensky has sacked all of the heads of military enlistment in each region right across the country. It follows corruption allegations. Kyiv has been conscripting Ukrainians for its counteroffensive to recapture territory controlled by Moscow's troops. Let's take a listen to his announcement a little earlier. We're dismissing all regional military commissars. This system should be run by people who know exactly what war is. Why cynicism and bribery at a time of war is high treason. Instead, soldiers who have been through the front or who cannot be in the trenches because they have lost their health, lost their limbs, but have retained their dignity and have no cynicism, they can be entrusted with this recruitment system. Well, let's go straight to Kyiv. Our correspondent James Wardhouse. James, that's quite a dramatic move from the president. Tell us a little more of the background to this.
Yeah, it's quite a clampdown. Matthew 33 recruitment heads in every region of Ukraine are now out of a job essentially in this announcement that few expected a couple of weeks ago. The really recruitment head in the southern region of Odessa was even arrested. Now there is a bit of history here. There's a bit of tension between these recruitment centers within the military itself because the issue of mobilization, where Ukraine is calling up and continues to call up thousands of men at a time for its continued war efforts. It's a sensitive subject and there have been issues around how that is done. Now if you go on what the recruiters say, what the land forces say, they're responsible for it. They say the system needs more money, it needs modernizing, and that they get a bad rep for doing the work of the military. And it seems that it's politically unpopular in the past for it to receive any kind of funding. And then we have this announcement from President Zelensky against the backdrop of pressure from Western allies to deal with corruption in Ukraine, something the country has always grappled with, but then there are also allegations from the men themselves who find themselves receiving draft papers. There are claims certainly in Odessa where heavy-handed tactics have been used. There are allegations of men finding themselves on the front line with very little training. Now of course there are sizable proportions of the population who are motivated to volunteer and fight. But such is the nature of this war, there is a continued demand for troops to not just replace those who have been lost or killed, but also to provide relief for those who have been fighting on the front line in some pretty unimaginable conditions for several months now. This is quite the announcement and it will have far-reaching consequences. Meanwhile, there have been further Russian missile strikes to the west of the country. Leafy Ivano-Francevska, a region in western Ukraine, was targeted by ballistic missiles launched by Russian fighter jets. One missile landed in Ivano-Francevska where a military base was targeted. A house was hit and an 8-year-old boy was killed. Most of Ukraine is under threat, including the southeastern city of Zaporizhzhia, where missiles have been hitting civilian buildings. Russia claims to be targeting military targets, but there has been an increase in testing Ukraine's air defense.